INAS long as we've had maps, there have been tales of places that simply vanished. Sometimes these towns remain marked by a forgotten name. Other times, they exist only in the recollections of a few people, stories of missing. Towns cross all time periods and cultures, and in today's age, they live on through message boards, social media threads, and niche conspiracy forums. That what's most disturbing is not just the idea of a town being wiped away, but the bigger question: how do you prove something existed when every shred of evidence is gone? One of the earliest and most famous examples of a vanished community is the Roanoke colony. In 1587, over 100 English settlers established a thriving village on Roanoke Island, now part of North Carolina. Years passed, and when a ship returned to resupply them, the entire colony had vanished. The homes were dismantled, the land overgrown. The only clue: the word Croton etched into a wooden post, and the letters Ciro carved into a nearby tree. The Crotons were a local Native American tribe, so some speculate the settlers joined them or fell victim to an attack. But there were no bodies, no struggle, no explanation. It remains an unsolved mystery, and one of many similar stories. Take, for instance, João Verde, a Brazilian village that reportedly emptied overnight in 1923, never to be heard from again. Or the case of Lake Anjikuni in northern Canada. In 1930, a trapper stumbled upon an abandoned Inuit village. Food was left uneaten, fires still smoldered, but the people were gone. Even the dead had been exhumed and taken. These stories still leave behind scraps of physical evidence: empty homes, scattered belongings. But what if an entire town disappeared without a trace? This brings us to Doveland, Wisconsin. Sometime in the late 2010s, the name began circulating on obscure internet forums. It all started, apparently, with a simple Google search. People typing Dove into the search bar found Google suggesting Doveland, Wisconsin. But there's no such town. Never has been. How, then, did Google's algorithm come up with it? Algorithms rely on search volume, website mentions, and official records. For Doveland, Wisconsin, to appear as a suggested term, a significant number of people must have searched for it. But why? Stranger still, people began to recall memories of a town called Doveland. Hundreds of users shared eerily similar stories of a quiet rural town. White picket fences, summer festivals, friendly neighbors. Some even shared pictures, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and memorabilia marked with Doveland and a town crest. But when asked for details, street names, landmarks, directions, they drew blanks. No one could point it out on a map. There were no birth certificates, no death notices, no town records. Nothing official. Just memories. To skeptics, this was a modern internet myth, fueled by nostalgia and groupthink. But others weren't so sure. Most people who remembered Doveland insisted it was real. They described it as an average small-town community nestled among Wisconsin's forests and farmland. Children rode bikes down gravel roads. Locals gathered at community centers. It was the kind of place you remembered forever. And then, around the 1990s, poof, gone. Internet searches and government archives come up empty. Even longtime Wisconsin residents can't recall ever passing through a town named Doveland. But the people who remember it aren't backing down. Then came a post that changed everything. A user on a message board shared this. My dad used to mention a place called Doveland in Wisconsin. He said it was full of military families. Something happened there, related to Project Sanguine, I think. I remember him saying the town was destroyed, maybe flooded. I'm fuzzy on the details. The name Project Sanguine caught the attention of online sleuths. It wasn't fiction. During the Cold War, the U.S. Navy developed Project Sanguine, an ambitious plan to create an underground network using extremely low-frequency (ELF) waves to communicate with submarines worldwide. The full-scale version was never built, but a smaller variant, Project ELF, was installed in northern Wisconsin. The cables stretched across thousands of acres of forest. The power demands were enormous. Military secrecy was absolute. Was Doveland a casualty of that secrecy? The idea of secret towns isn't new. During World War II, the U.S. built Los Alamos, New Mexico, a town that didn't appear on any map, just to house atomic researchers and their families. Residents got their mail through a P.O. box. The town was isolated, yet real. Another example, Mercury, Nevada, constructed for nuclear test support. It had churches, bowling alleys, even schools, but was entirely closed to the public. If the government needed to hide a massive project beneath Wisconsin's soil, would they build a town around it? And if something went wrong, would they erase that town completely? Another internet user chimed in. Doveland was real. My father remembered it. He always joked about a town full of soldiers being called Doveland. He said the town was part of Project Sanguine, and that something bad happened. He didn't say what, but there was a pattern. Multiple users mentioned an incident, possibly involving excavation or flooding. Massive underground projects carry serious risks. Sinkholes, collapses, environmental damage. If a catastrophic accident occurred, would the government have covered it up? History suggests they might have. In 1958, a U.S. bomber dropped a hydrogen bomb off the coast of Georgia. The public wasn't informed for years. Area 51's test pilots were killed in crashes labeled training accidents. Their families were sworn to secrecy. If Doveland was wiped out due to a classified accident, it wouldn't be the first time. A location and its people were silenced. And if nature reclaimed the land, who would know what used to stand there? Not everyone believes. One longtime Wisconsin resident wrote, I've lived here 30 years. Been in the Army. Traveled the whole state. Never heard of Doveland. Not once. But Wisconsin is vast, larger than many European countries. Just because one person didn't hear about it doesn't prove it didn't exist. Some towns are tiny, forgotten. Others may never have made it onto maps, or perhaps they were removed. What's the evidence? Not much. A few faded photos. A blurry newspaper ad. A coffee mug. Some dismiss it as manipulated or misremembered. But the sheer number of people who recall Doveland, who describe it in the same nostalgic detail, suggests something more. Where there's smoke, maybe there was once a town. One early theory suggested Doveland was lost to a natural disaster, maybe a sinkhole or earthquake. But Wisconsin isn't known for seismic activity. And a disaster that big would leave marks. Physical scars, records, memorials. There are none. If Doveland disappeared, it wasn't due to nature. It was something else. Let's revisit the military theory. What if the ELF project accidentally hit something? Some conspiracy theorists point to whistleblowers who claim the U.S. government knows about vast tunnel systems. Some man-made, others not. Men like Phil Schneider believe the government encountered something else underground. Entities, creatures, portals. Did the military breach an unknown structure while digging? Could that explain why a town might vanish and why no trace would remain? Another idea, Doveland still exists, but not here. Some say it fell into an interdimensional rift, a time slip, a break in the fabric of reality. These theories are difficult to prove or disprove, but they offer one explanation. Perhaps Doveland was never destroyed. Maybe it just slipped into another place. This is where the Mandela effect comes. And it's the phenomenon where large groups of people share false memories. Like remembering Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s, when he actually passed in 2013. Some see this as a sign of alternate timelines, or a brain glitch caused by repeated stories and emotional reinforcement. Could the same be happening with Doveland? Are people projecting childhood memories onto a name they've only heard recently? Or are their minds filling in the gaps where the truth has been erased? Critics say Doveland doesn't show up online until around 2015. No earlier records, no mentions, no maps. That's 20 years of silence. They argue it was born online, on Reddit threads, creepypasta forums, and YouTube rabbit holes. But if that's true, why do so many remember it so vividly? That's the paradox. Unlike other lost towns, there are no ruins, no ghost streets, no foundations in the woods, nothing. And yet, there are memories, dozens, hundreds, of people insist they lived there, played there, said goodbye to it. Were they mistaken? Or did someone, want Doveland to be forgotten? Some believe the truth lies buried beneath Wisconsin's rolling hills. Others believe it was never real to begin with. But either way, the story of Doveland refuses to be silenced. Maybe it was destroyed, maybe it was hidden. Or maybe it slipped away into somewhere we can't reach. But in the hearts of those who remember it, Doveland still stands, somewhere between memory and mystery.